All right, we've got an attendee. Why is
Nice.
it say my name? That's all right. We'll take whoever we can get. We're also streaming this live on Facebook, so
Nice.
we know that we know that the audience will build. You build it, they will
Uh,
come.
Can we? Is it on your page? We'll share it.
Yeah, Luke, share it on the MLO Bros so our guys can see it, and I'll share it.
Cool.
I'll share it on
Share it to all our groups, Isaac.
Yeah.
All right. Well, wherever you're dropping in today, we've got an hour. I've got a hard stop at the top of the hour, rather important meeting with a client of mine. I'll name drop it, PBS Western Reserve. And so we bumped up our noon start to 11 a.m. Reached out to two guys when we were putting together the DOYO Live in-person marketing conference. But COVID had some other plans for us. And we've always delivered online content. I reached out to Luke and Isaac Schuster, who are the brain power behind the MLO Bros, which happens to be doing a lot of really cool things that we're going to get into here in a minute. I'll let them explain themselves and their business. If you are on the webinar, we will be asking some polling questions. We're also streaming this live through Facebook as well, and should be a fun day. I like the festivities over Isaac's shoulder. First Christmas tree appearance by anybody
Wow.
in the history of the show.
Isaac, you're breaking records.
And the other interesting thing is this is the first time that Luke's had sleeves on in 2020.
It's very cold. I wanted to dress up a little bit. I'm still in pajamas, but I have sleeves on and pajamas.
So let's do this. First of all, I appreciate you guys jumping on as you get into the webinar. Today's presentation is going to be, the title of the presentation is Doing Things Different. And when you type that in, Grammarly says you should spell it differently. So that's also a play on this today. We're not going to bludgeon you with a PowerPoint presentation, rather a real live, meaningful conversation with the MLO Bros. And we're going to get into it. We're going to get into a few different things. But Luke, Isaac, thank you for joining us. This is
Absolutely.
week number 4. We're actually going to shut down for the holidays. We'll be back after the first of the year this is week 4 out of a 16-week grind of weekly webinars at noon. That said, welcome, and tell us a little bit about you and your background.
Go ahead, Luke.
You want me to go first? Okay, so I am the older of 4 brothers. Isaac is the little brother. So if you're wondering if I'm his dad or not, I am not Isaac's dad. I am his older brother. I'm 41. Isaac is what, 26, Isaac? Mm-hmm. And Isaac is, well, let's start. I've been a loan officer since I was 23 years old. Probably one of the youngest banking loan officers in the area. So I've been around the typical banking marketing mumbo jumbo for years. And I always felt it holds back a loan officer that wants to be creative. And at the end of this, in 2019, due to some issues at the bank I was at, along with, I was a sales manager, just decision-making things, I decided to branch out and get away from the banks, the small local banks, the big banks, and do what's called a mortgage lender, where it is my own branch, but we work for a bank called Nationwide Mortgage. And I basically, as close as you can be to self-employed. When I switched, one of the things I talked to is I said, I want control of my marketing online. I want to try and do stuff that has never been done before as far as banking. Now, there are a lot of restrictions, and Dennis has talked about that, where you get into, you have to have different waivers and compliance things with bank marketing. So what we came up with was we came up with a podcast and basically online personalities of the MLO Bros, where yes, we do advertise a little bit for marketing for our mortgage bank and trying to get business, but that's not our main focus, which kind of gets us around the whole compliance thing, which is kind of what we were shooting for. Now, we still put our waivers up where we don't get sued and that kind of stuff, but we're trying to market our podcast, market our Facebook groups, and we'll talk about that more, to basically bring in the business and build community, build a base of customers that are like, hey, These two guys, they help the community. They do podcasts. They feature businesses. They're also loan officers. We want to use them. So we're not doing direct marketing. We could talk about that more. Again, we are not marketing experts whatsoever. We're loan officers, but what we've been doing is working, and we make it. Like I told Dennis, when he invited us on, Isaac, I was like, dude, we can't come on your show because we don't know what the hell we're doing. So we have no right. And he's like, oh no, it's good. So that's my story. I've been doing this for a long time. Our branch is absolutely exploding with business right now. It's been awesome. So.
And Isaac, you're a recent YSU grad.
I am. I graduated in 2016 from YSU in marketing. And then I went into the trucking industry for a few years, and it's in sales, and sales over there was very tough. Puppy, relax. And then Luke, just earlier this year, end of 2019, early 2020, Luke decided to pull me over. He started that branch, and he said, yeah, now's your time. If you want to jump and become a loan officer, you can work under me. We couldn't make this work in the past because I work for a big bank. So we did it. And then once I got licensed, we decided in order to help us, both get more business, we'd start the MLO Bros, and went from there.
So we're going to get into the genesis behind the MLO Bros podcast, and also talk a lot about Facebook, because you've really established a group. And one of the things I did earlier today, setting this up, was I went live to talk about how you can still get organic growth on Facebook, which has all been almost null and void if you're not willing to spend money, because obviously Facebook is a publicly traded company, and how you can go about doing that, and using you guys actually as the poster child is the example behind that. And so also, to set the context of this, is that what Luke was getting at is mortgage lending, banking, financing, insurance, healthcare. These are blue blood industries with blue blood businesses that function and operate very similarly in a highly regulated environment. And therefore, there comes some challenges when it comes to online marketing and making it work. So we'll jump back into that. So as much as you guys possibly can today, and I know that there's obviously disclaimers that come along with it, but about 8 years ago, pre-Luke and Isaac, didn't know you guys, I was living in Columbus, Ohio, and started my business, fired my boss at GE Healthcare, which I thought was a great idea at the time. My daughter had just come home from the hospital, and I feel like I was running into the fire when everybody was running out. And it was a very gratifying thing to fire my boss in corporate America. I had worked in entrepreneurial startups, small, mid-sized businesses up to that point, but I was truly going into business for myself. And before I made these moves, I checked a lot of boxes. I checked the healthcare box. What is healthcare insurance going to run me? Some other various things that, once you take away the veil of corporate America or the job that you have to take care of. And I knew that we were selling our house in Columbus and moving back to Youngstown, Ohio. So I called a rather large mortgage lender, and I just tried to cross the T's and dot the I's to say hey, I'm going to be buying a house. Is there anything that I need to know? And they're like, as long as you don't have any gaps in employment, you'll be fine. Mm. So didn't ask any questions beyond that. I heard what I needed to or wanted to. Sold the house, moved in a cash deal in Columbus. We were moving back to Poland, and we couldn't find anything that we wanted. So we ended up renting for about 9 months. When it came time to find the house, it was a big surprise to me that when I checked the self-employment box, there was significantly more criteria that was left out of that initial conversation. And now I'm sitting here with a family of 3 in a small 2-bedroom house going exactly what did I do? How did this happen? So we have a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs that are a part of the DOYO Live community. For what you can actually say, right, without giving advice, whatever that is, what do you tell small business owners when it comes to home loans and financing?
That we run into that so much, because everyone that's a self-employed borrower doesn't want to show taxes. They don't want to show income. They don't want to show taxes because they don't want to pay taxes, obviously. So the problem is, and we could talk about this for as long as we're not discussing rate or anything like that, we can't get into trouble. So in order to, you have to be self-employed most of the time, 2 years.
2 years.
You have to have 2 years of personal and business tax returns. And those 2 years of personal and business tax returns have to show income. And when we say show, it's not like a lot of people are like, well, my company grossed 500,000, but then they deduct you deduct your car stuff, you deduct your marketing, and then you end up making like $20,000 when it's all said and done. Now you can write some of that stuff back in, only depreciation, and you can kind of get away with like car stuff if you can prove it, if there's a history. We run into this so much. And back in the good old days, which is pre-2011, before the big market crash, you could get away with, just stated income, stated assets, being a self-employed borrower. These days, you have to totally document everything. And COVID, because of COVID this year, they threw on another additional restriction or layer where you have to have a signed year-to-date profit loss statement. So right now you need the whole year with bank statements that match that income. So if you show a $10,000 deposit or you made 10,000, you have to see that go into your bank account. I mean, they are really tightening up. So the best advice is if you're planning on buying a house, you have to show income. And if you just started a new company, you're going to have to wait or
2 years.
Or get a co-borrower. But ask mom or dad to co-sign.
And then two more follow-up questions to this. How has the mortgage industry been over the past 9 months as this pandemic has kicked in?
Isaac, you want to?
Great. Yeah, you go ahead, Luke. You're doing good. You're the professional in the bank. I just kind of work for you in terms of the bank.
He's still. What is it? It's almost been a year. You're almost there.
Yeah, it'll be a year in February.
Yeah,
but you know how it is.
I'm like, Dennis. Let's be straight about this. I am a complete moron, like complete idiot when it comes to everything, except for some reason I'm like Rain Man, and Isaac will tell you I'm like Rain Man when it comes to mortgage stuff.
I'll take a deal to him that I think is completely dead in the water.
These questions, by the way, because I know you have a lot of industry knowledge and expertise that doesn't get talked about.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. We're going to jump into the marketing conversation in a moment.
Yeah.
You don't brag and talk about that.
I'm a complete moron. Like my wife will she's like, you forgot to freaking brush your teeth this morning, but you know mortgage stuff. So okay. Anyways, this year has been it's a double-edged sword. So rates are as low as they've ever been, and of course it depends on your credit score. It depends on your loan to value, what your house is worth versus what you owe. Credit score is always the big one, but you could get probably low 3s for a refinance right now, or 2s or high 2s, depending again on all those variables. And that's for refinances. Now purchases have been off the charts too because of rates being low, limited stock in housing. They're like a house in Poland, Ohio, where we're from. It'll go on the market and then it's sold in a day. I mean, before it even hits the listing or anything else like that. The issues you run into right now is because of COVID. If you had breaks in income because of unemployment, because you were laid off, if you had, let's say, a drop in income, people lost income, we have to use those new numbers. And it does affect some of them. There are ways around it if you're taking like averages of income over the year, where we could prove you were on unemployment. But it does another layer of protection is what we always call that for the bank. And we have to get through it.
That makes sense. All right, so let's jump over into this conversation about your Facebook group. So, and by the way, Isaac, if you can, we've got a chat. And I didn't say this, but if anybody has a question that you want to ask, feel free. Like drop a question in the chat or into the Q&A.
Oh, okay.
We love to hear from you. Isaac, if you could go ahead and put your Facebook groups actually into the chat.
Yeah.
And first things first, I'm also going to launch a polling question. How many of you out there today are currently managing or the owner of a Facebook group? So Everything Poland. You created that group. I think you got Everything Youngstown. Have you branched to any other communities at this point?
Everything Poland, Everything Youngstown, Everything Canfield.
Everything Canfield.
We don't have Boardman because Boardman Talk, we're friends with Boardman Talk and we know the guy who runs it and he's really cool. So he lets us post whenever we want on there. So we didn't have to make Boardman Talk.
The reason why you created the everythings was as a result of kind of having some community driven organization behind your group.
Yeah. So what happened was when we started the MLO Bros, we tried to post it on Poland Talk. I don't know, Luke, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that or not, but Poland Talk. And so we tried to, and the admin said, hey, you can't post on here.
Can't post.
We know what you're trying to do. You're trying to get business for your loan officer because you're both loan officers, and we won't allow it. And we're like, okay, well then Luke's like, okay, fine, we're just going to start our own. So then we started our own and posted the MLO Bros on that and started getting a big pull from a bunch of Poland people started joining it. And after that, the admin then yelled at us and said,
but the mantra behind your group is the antithesis. That's a big word for a little guy like me. Of that, like you have spent 9 months building a sense of community.
Yes.
Through content and through initiatives that revolve around the community. And I don't know that I really ever hear, this pitch about mortgage. Like probably the most that you guys have been online talking about mortgage lending, and that is right here today. Like that 5 minutes is probably the most you've spent.
100%.
So when you started everything Poland, and for the people that are obviously out there, what were some of the considerations that you gave to rules within your group?
Well, there was a lot of suppression from the other group is what I had heard, as in, and of course they'll deny it, but the admins over there would suppress a lot of the stuff like they did with us. And, like not allowing businesses to post, not allowing people to post certain things. All the comments had to be approved no matter what you posted over there. So it was almost like, like edited. And
when we started too, they wouldn't let us post on the MLO Bros on their site because they said we have nothing that relates to Poland. And we were just starting out. We were just getting some small local businesses. So they were stopping us from posting because of that too. That was their excuse. But
yeah, so I just think there was a problem. I'm not sure with us and with what we were doing. So
but on your group right now, you have like kind of you have some rules, no solicitations.
Yeah.
They're more like guidelines.
Yeah, we're not very strict. We want it to be like a community bulletin board, and we want to support local companies. So as long as we only have that in place, so that as long as a local company doesn't just spam post stuff over and over and over and just become annoying.
And you moderate that.
Yeah, we have admins. We have a team of administrators that monitor that. Yes.
Do you have like your guidelines have like play nice, no bullying?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
What else?
Guideline, no swearing or bullying.
No swearing.
No selling like furniture or anything like that. You could do that in the marketplace. Keep it PG.
But I think no swearing's like PG-13 though.
Yeah, so you can get away with it's like maybe one F-bomb like a week or something like that. We're not really, like I said, it's more of a guideline. I mean we start getting defensive as admins when somebody starts going after another person personally, if that makes sense. Like they went after a teacher the other day and I just annihilated this guy. And a lot of people get mad at Isaac and I in this group. It's kind of the moms of the group is what we call it, where someone will kind of go after somebody and Isaac and I will kind of just go right back at him. Instead of like deleting the comment, we'll be like kind of call him out on it. And then it kind of turns into a what's wrong with you and blah, blah, blah. And we get yelled at for that.
We'll get into some of that controversy here. So were there any in any intention at all when starting out that like this would be something that would potentially be a place that you generate business?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean I'd be lying if we weren't planning ahead, thinking at some point we will get business out of that.
It's a long game. It's not a cheap advertisement, and it's genuine.
I mean, when we started it, Isaac, it was more along the lines of, look, we want to help out our community because the other page was really suppressing people. We've done charities, we've done all this stuff. But again, and the side effect is I knew we were going to get business. I mean, we called ourselves the MLO Bros, which not a lot of people know. It's mortgage loan officers. You know, that's and people will call us like the Milo brothers because they don't know what it is, and we don't really correct them.
Well, that's great because we have that name identity issue as well. So now, what's the content? And has it ever been like I'm laying out the next? I think I know the answer to this. You ever looking at like, here's the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days of content. Here's what we're planning. Here's our editorial calendar. Outside of the podcast.
I think content in terms of planning ahead is like seasonal, I would say. So we like, okay, what are we gonna do for Thanksgiving?
So you guys didn't have you guys didn't have a big sit down creative session and say we're gonna develop Messing with Dennis as a segment or a campaign, right? It was just pretty much, hey, he was here, he just left on his bike. Let's start doing this.
Let's go steal his bike.
Messing with Dennis was created when we saw you drive over. Like, is he on a freaking bike? He doesn't own a car. So we're like, oh, we gotta go steal that freaking bike. And then the whole brownie poop thing where we snuck into your yard and left you a bag of brownies that looked like a
dog poop
species, if you will. Yeah, that was totally on the whim too because we just bought brownies.
So you end up with coming up with content somewhat seasonal driven, somewhat you just wake up and there's the world just keeps giving, right? I mean, every day, like you don't have to do much if you just pay attention and you can include that. But you've developed also though the page around a pillar piece of content, which is the podcast, which is technically a vlog, which you do interview people. And that is like, you don't plan out the content, but you definitely reach out in advance to get people on.
Yeah.
So tell our people about what you guys are doing there.
So content started out as just a way to entertain during COVID. And from there, it grew. Entertaining the local Poland during COVID with local businesses, trying to support them in a time of need when lots of customers weren't able to come in and sit down. So it started out as that, and then we got moved on to the mayor and getting more and more people, and it just grew from there. And then Luke, go ahead, man.
Yeah, I mean, we've had now at this point we've had like Kelly Pavlik on. We have had we had a 96-year-old lady who wrote a book and survived World War II 2 weeks ago. One of our big guests is Dr. Nino Rubino. He holds like 100 to 150 people throughout the entire podcast because people don't know about COVID. So we ask them questions, but at the same point, at no point have we ever wrote down questions we were going to ask. It is like just like us talking to you right now. We goof around the entire time. We found out last night that people actually stream us to their televisions, and it's like a Thursday and Tuesday night at 8:30 on our face. Like they watch it with their family, and we're like, are you freaking kidding me? So it's just everything is slowly growing, and it's doing way better than I ever thought. If you would have asked me in March if we'd still be doing this stinking podcast or the Facebook groups, I would have said there's no way. But at this point, it's like expected. Isaac and I, we can't go into public right now in like Canfield, Boardman, Poland, Struthers, North, any of the areas around us without people recognizing us. And it's unbelievable. It's been such a success. And, I told you guys this last time. I was at Sandwich Factory and somebody called my name and there was like a little line, like two people were like, oh my God, we're huge fans. And I had like a hood on and my mask. And I'm like, oh gosh, in heaven. So it's like, it's been off the charts. And I just think the success of it has just been us just being ourselves and being original and being sincere and trying to help people. So
absolutely. And it is purpose driven as well. So you get a ton of engagement. You're getting people on, you're getting people to be on the podcast. And then you're getting obviously engagement, people watching that as well. Right. How has that's grown over the course of time? Statistically, you're averaging 3,000 to 5,000 views a video. Is that still organic, or are you boosting performance enhanced, which is fine?
I don't think I might have boosted one. It's all organic. I haven't We've boosted some of the little videos we've done. Like I did a video clip with my son with virtual learning with dad, where we kind of did a couple different clips of me quote teaching him stuff, which are kind of fun. But other than that,
can you even boost a live video?
I think you can
after the fact,
after it's done. You can
okay.
Yeah, after the fact, and it's an interesting phenomenon because like you can find nonprofits that have you can do this during the broadcast. So I work with a couple nonprofits where we've even been flirting around with trying to do like a fundraiser during the live, like so you could almost do a telethon like. The advertisement portion of it though can't come until after you shut it down. Now, do you measure engagement month over month? Are you looking at those stats, or is it kind of just, hey, it's a byproduct of what we do?
We notice that it snowballs as we go because, and the most important thing that we found is as we have guests on, have them share the live video so that their guests join and then comment in, and then we can communicate with them. And then they're like, hey, these MLO Bro guys are pretty cool. We'll follow them. And then we get more and more as we move on. Restaurants have a solid following. So you have some owners of restaurants come on and then they get to talk to the owner. They find that super interesting. And then they jump on the MLO bandwagon and follow us to the next one. So very important.
It's the win-win scenario. I mean, we talk about St. A's Bistro, like we're selling more pies than, like between the two of us, we've put them on our social media and help out a local business owner. And I'm rooting for the guy and he's doing a great job and wouldn't do that otherwise. But like, that's a part of it. You grow the audience, you get the engagement. Now, were there gotchas along the way besides getting some cognitive fluency is the term, if you want to know the official term, that the more people that see your face on a regular basis become fluent with you, their brain says something like, I know these people, I know this guy, right? And then that makes life easier. It's brand recognition. Any gotchas besides the internet fame, whether it's managing a community on Facebook, what you were prepared for, what you weren't, I don't know. Any surprises?
Yeah, my wife is a teacher at Poland, and it's funny when we say a gotcha is, we talk about the school a lot on our Facebook groups, a lot, and Poland and this and that and the other. And what's funny is the gotcha for her was when we started doing this, she's like, you better not do this. I'm going to get in trouble. And now it's just everybody accepts the fact that Isaac and I are going to be on our podcast talking about the schools, talking about the community. We had school board members on, and the gotcha is she now has people in her meetings, like when they have like teacher meetings and stuff like that. They're like, hey, make sure you don't tell Luke, because he will tell everybody in all of Poland what's going on. So that is a big gotcha for her. And at this point, she's used to it. But it's just that is pretty funny as far as that goes. But again, I mean, I don't know, any other gotchas, Isaac? I don't think so, right? Like
Luke mentioned earlier, when we actually went to steal your bike, Dennis, and messing with Dennis, and we're rolling up in our car, and we get out of the car, and as I'm about to go grab your bike, the guy's like, can we get pictures with you? You guys are awesome. We watch you all the time. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like, how is this even happening? And so then, it's crazy. And then the other opposite end of that is you have people on that Facebook group that are out to get us. I mean, and that's just how it is.
Without name dropping or giving specifics, was it a little bit of a shocking moment to you when you saw other financial lenders in the area start to replicate some of your efforts with like the holiday contests?
Luke was upset at first, and I think he still is a little salty about it. But I'm like, Luke,
you don't have to name drop, right? But
I'm like, Luke, we got to keep charging forward, man. If they're copying us, we're doing something right. I'm like, we're getting attention. So it's the ultimate compliment.
It's different for Isaac though. See, it's different because he didn't live through that. I have been trying to do Facebook posts, podcasts
with them before,
with them. And I started when I was on my personal page, posting like, hey, this, that, and the other about the banks. Nothing illegal, nothing compliant. And these stinking marketing people at these banks would be like, well, you need to get that approved with us first because we're the marketing department and we control the content and this, that, and the other. So then, and I'm like, but I want to work with them, and everything I would turn into them would get denied because, oh, that doesn't follow our brand. That's not a good idea. We're the marketing experts, blah, 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 blah. Like I literally got in a screaming match with a marketing person at the last bank I worked at because she didn't want to hear any of it. And I'm like, well, your ideas are terrible and it's not working. And well, I'm an expert. I went to school for marketing. It's like, I don't care. And, that was one of the reasons why I left. And to see these old banks that I used to work for and to see these people copying, just straight up having the CEO do a podcast, an interview, we created a Halloween contest where people were posting the things and prizes were given away. You were a judge, Dennis. To see them literally, we post that, we create this idea, we do it, and then 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, on their Facebook page, which by the way, have more followers than most of them anyways, their Facebook page are copying the Halloween idea, the Christmas ideas, it's like, wow, you guys are dumb. Like you should have just listened to me and we could all been making money, but here we are now. So it's a compliment, I guess, at the same point. But
it really is, man. The ultimate compliment.
Isaac wasn't part of of the meetings where I was telling these people and they were just not hearing it.
That's true.
So that's why it's like a deep-rooted anger.
It's a sense of, you're right. And I feel both sides of it because obviously, we've talked on this show, your show, and it only validates like the past at least decade of the body of work that I've been putting together.
Yeah.
It only validates things that come out of the marketing conference that people implement into their business. That's why we're doing it. So but sometimes when they act like they invented it, that's a whole nother kind of perspective. But you guys aren't necessarily campaign driven, but you are seasonal driven. Mm-hmm. So talk to me a little bit about the Halloween contest. Again, I was a judge. You've pulled me in for Christmas. I went around the other night, by the way, and tried to start doing some filming and some camera stuff. And it's not photographing really well at night, something to do with the lens and things like that. So I got to try and figure that out. But talk to us a little bit, like, was this campaign driven, or is this just like, hey, there's an interesting idea to help, in a really difficult time, by the way, right? It's like, we've got this very polarizing election going on, in case you didn't hear about it. We've got racial injustice going on, which is a very serious topic. And then we've got under a global pandemic. So like, there's a lot of heavy.
Yeah.
And we don't know if Halloween's going to exist or what. So Isaac walks in, or Luke walks in and says, hey, I got a great idea. Or was it, hey, let's,
that was 100% Luke. That was 100%
That wasn't even
Luke.
me, to be honest with you. That was somebody in our Facebook group that said, hey,
listening to the community.
Yeah, exactly. He Facebooked me and said, hey, will you help? I think this is a great idea. It was the dude that did the Blair Witch Project one.
Oh,
so, remember the Halloween?
Brian Sikora, right?
Yeah.
And you came up with the idea for a Halloween contest.
Yeah, well, he suggested it, and I said, you know what? Like, that's a great idea. We organized it. We created a map. Actually, that one we didn't create a map. We created a list where people could drive around and and visit all these things. And then we had celebrity judges, which Dennis was, our dad was.
Celebrity judges.
Celebrity. I think we called them C-list celebrity.
Local celebrities. Yeah.
And it really brought the community together. It helped out, I think it gave people something to do during Halloween other than just, sit around and hope Halloween happened. And it was great. And I feel like we get attention from that while taking care of the community and helping the community and giving them something to do.
And then we came up with the drive-through Santa, or the drive-by Santa, where we made the map.
We helped them.
Well, hold on a second.
Oh yeah, they thought of that, but we helped.
So here's what I love about it too, is that I think that people are struggling, and I'm gonna launch another polling question. People are struggling with their Facebook marketing, and I think part of it is because they do want to be product or industry centric. And when you look at Barstool Sports, right? Mm-hmm. Pizza reviews has nothing to do with sports, and I don't even know what it has anything to do with. To be honest with you, right? Except like, Now, now when you're in a city, you might have the Guy Fieri type of mentality of diners, dive-ins, and drives, and
Yeah.
we've actually done that when we're on the road. But really, at the end of the day, like Barstool's building this audience, huge audience worth like $1 billion now, and just doing stupid pizza reviews, right? There, you could create this marketing and engagement. It has nothing to do with brand or industry.
Mhm.
Talk about one of your first campaigns, which I'm going to call them campaigns. It's probably annoy you guys.
That's fair.
You guys came up with a brilliant idea to slow traffic down, which was probably one of the first ones outside of the podcast.
That was, well, there was, before that, there was Liz Baker. Wait, oh no, we're talking about the signs. Sorry, we
The
have so
slow
many
down
freaking,
campaign. Yeah.
so many
Slow
We
down
called it the
campaign.
slow down. Yeah.
Yeah, the yellow sign campaign. So
Again,
you want to
yeah.
talk?
A
Isaac, go ahead.
nice, really purpose-driven way to create, again, get your name out there, but do good in the community. There's nothing wrong with that. What did you do?
So people were complaining about speeding. Well, let me rephrase that. I have a neighborhood that it's a cul-de-sac, and people, the neighbors down the road, were going like it's a 35 mile an hour, no, 25 mile an hour zone. I had him clocked on a baseball gun, like going 45.
Sure.
So I went down, talked to the parents. They said, okay, it was the kids. We'll tell them to slow down. Talk to the dad. Kept going on. Eventually I talked to the kid, and she was just kind of, just ignoring me. Yeah, okay, old man, whatever. Cause I have 3 boys under 9. So I said, okay, I went out and I got a sign and put a slow down sign down, like just a generic slow down sign in my front yard, like yellow, bright yellow, slow down. And I did that, and I'm walking back up the driveway, and it was like, oh, I got an idea. It was just like, it just dawned on me. Oh my God, I got an idea. So I immediately I created a sign that said MLO BROS slow down campaign, slowing down the community. It's all on the sign, big bright letters, slow down. And then we have MLO BROS.
Everything Poland was on there too.
Everything
We're trying
Poland,
to
our
promote
group.
MLO Bros and everything Poland
Build the
at same
audience.
time.
Build the audience. And then we created our website, kind of built out of that, where we have the MLOBros.com, and they could purchase the signs. We would deliver them, but we didn't keep any of the money. All of them, I bought the signs from our branch as a donation, and any money they gave us, we're donating back to the community to celebrate Poland, which is another way to support the community. So we ended up doing what, Isaac, 125 signs or 150?
It was a long couple days of driving.
Isaac was driving around all over Poland.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So we ended up making probably $2,000, $3,000 in donations to celebrate Poland. We ended up putting these signs with our name all over town, slow down, just a little thing. Meeting a bunch of people in the community while we were putting up the signs. I mean, it was awesome. It was a lot of work, but it was awesome.
Yeah, I think that's something that people, because of the fact that you make your show fun, and you're not going to sit there and pat yourself on the back. And then this is why I think this is an important moment for you guys, is that people need to understand that your efforts, and every time I talk to you about different things that you're doing, that there might be some price involved, that you guys are taking that contribution and you're giving it back in some capacity. You have advertising now available on your website and some other placement opportunities, but you're taking the money, and for the most part, from what I understand, you're donating it back to the Poland, to the Poland celebration, which is a tremendous thing. Like, most people, don't look at it like that, right?
Yeah.
And again, I know we have probably marketing people listening. For me, I think for our branch, we can spend our money on promoting ourselves while mixing together, helping the community, if that makes sense. I think there is a line there where you could say, okay, instead of giving Zillow, because that's a big thing for mortgage people, to buy Zillow ads and buy leads from Zillow, it's super expensive. I could take that $1,000 or $600 a month that they charge you and turn that into something that both betters the community and gets us more attention than we would ever get on Zillow. And I think if marketing companies could figure out a way to do that, and not just say, hey, Luke, I'm going to make you a Facebook group or a Facebook page. I'm going to make you a website. I'm going to do that. I think if you came up with more creative ways to do it, I would do it.
Yeah.
No offense to anybody that's marketing.
And we're super lucky to have that ability to combine the two, being loan officers and running the MLO Bros, and having, yeah, I don't know.
I
being a
think
loan
it's
officer is-
I think it's the levity
Yeah.
to be able to do it, to execute.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so meaning that, like, I try to position, one of my clients, they're not Crow's Cabinets isn't necessarily a kitchen remodeling design company. That's the most important room in your house.
Mhm.
And everything starts and finishes in the kitchen, no matter what event it is. And so we've been working on a blog called Cooking with Crows, and basically just contribute a story about you cooking in your kitchen. It has nothing to do with Crow's kitchens, Crow's cabinets. It's just, like, here's a blog, here's the creative, like, behind this, that, you want people to genuinely engage with you. This is the same approach that we've taken at DOYO for 4 years, and from a content strategy for a decade. What tends to happen sometimes is that you get into the building audience phase and not necessarily the conversion phase as well. A lot of times you guys are like, so, so, like, you do a conference, and I do a lot of the same things a lot of other people do. I try to do it more creatively, but whatever.
That's it. I think that's the trick. It's just being more creative. You got to set yourself apart. That's that's what we're trying to do.
So you got the sign slowdown. Then you went to a Halloween contest, and then you moved on from that, and you gave away turkeys.
Mm-hmm.
Did you drop them out of helicopters like WKRP in Cincinnati?
We did. I
Because that feels like the ultimate MLO Bros thing to do.
What was it? I swear, as God is my witness, I swear turkeys could fly. The turkey thing came up, wasn't our idea. Again, a lot of these ideas are just people coming up to us to help them get the word out and help them pull it off. So the turkey idea was Mayor Tim Sikafuse, the Poland mayor, who also owns Valley Insurance, who is actually one of our sponsors. He called me one day and he said, hey, I got an idea. Let's give away 500 turkeys. And then we were having lunch with Michael Ruley that exact same day. And I think he knew that, which is why he kind of timed that out that way.
The mayor's like, yeah, you guys we're going to have lunch with Ruley. And then he's like, yeah, I'm not going anymore, but you should bring it up to Mr. Ruley. I'm like, of course. Okay.
So we got
switch.
Yeah, exactly. So Mr. Michael Ruley, who's a state senator who we had on our show, was part of it too. And we all chipped in for these turkeys, and we gave away 500 turkeys. We streamed live videos while we were doing it. Isaac was dressed up as a pilgrim dancing on the middle of 224, which we went live during, which is insane.
You had the video that you produced prior to that as well.
Yes.
The pre-promotion.
Me running through Poland in the turkey outfit.
Running all over Poland in a turkey costume.
Yeah, and and again, we're using these videos so you combine it all together. We're doing these videos, we're doing our Facebook groups, we're putting it all out together, kind of in like a little, a hodgepodge to get the word out, and then we have everybody save it, and it ends up working out well. At one point we were kind of nervous we weren't going to be able to give away 500 turkeys, but we spread it out so long that we did eventually give away. It was 2-3 hours, right, Isaac?
Yeah, it took a while, but I'm proud of Poland because it was right in Poland. It was a drive-through, and it wasn't, I could tell just by scanning the people as they came through, it wasn't a lot of Poland people. It was people from outside of our community that really, really needed it. So I'm happy Poland didn't just have a bunch of people come through, and instead they let the people who actually needed it get in line. So it was good.
We're in a tough spot right now, and people like yourselves that step up and do good things like this, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with capturing it. And so from an equipment perspective, we'll get into some of the holiday conversations here in just a minute, but from an equipment perspective, this is another thing that I think probably makes a lot of marketing people crazy. And one of the things that we do is we do a lot of real day documentation stuff. We use our GoPro. It's not polished a lot of times, some of it is, and we can make you that 1 to 3 minute polished video shot from various artsy angles that tells an interesting story, and I believe that there's a place for that. But at the end of the day, like, you probably don't have the budget to hire a film crew to follow you around. So what does that what does that film crew look like for you? Is it
Luke laying on the side of a hill with an iPhone saying, "Hey, go do this," and I'm like, "Okay, sounds good."
The iPhone, and again, like you said, it probably drives the marketing people crazy. The new iPhone, the camera is ridiculous.
It's
so
fantastic.
amazing.
Yeah.
If you get the quick app from GoPro and pay $2.99 a month, I mean, you can put together some pretty amazing videos pretty easily, pretty quickly.
Here's a little known fact. So I was a public relations major in college, and I went back to school. Yeah, I know. I really failed at that. Went back to school. I worked on a cruise line for 2 years as an assistant cruise director. I'm gonna get to the point here. And then I came home and I was like, okay, I've been all over the world. What the hell am I going to do now? I actually went back to school for broadcast journalism. And I have an associate's degree in broadcast journalism, which is where I learned how to edit. I learned how to film poorly, but I know how to do it. It's enough of a skill. And then I use Power Director to edit our videos. A lot of different, little tricks and stuff. Again, I'm not an expert at it, but like you've said it before yourself, YouTube will teach you anything you need to know at any of that stuff. So anything I don't know I'm getting better at like Photoshop and that kind of stuff because of YouTube. So, I think our videos being done so poorly where it's not professional and our podcast being absolutely awful is what we always say.
It adds to the magic.
It adds to the magic where we are sincere. And like some of these, but we talked about these banks that are having their CEOs interview people and try and do podcasts. And I know it's because we're having success with ours. They have these marketing companies that are like, the CEO would talk, they'll cut, then the other guy will talk. And it's like back and forth, and they throw cute little things underneath. It's not sincere. It's not
real.
It's not real, and people know that.
Yeah.
And the other thing, I think that the other thing is that in the blue blood industries, there's this propensity to want to speak in the king's tongue. So, so like at GE Healthcare, when you hopped onto a conference call, and I was like, "Yo, what's up? Like it's Friday, can't wait, right?" And people would be like, and like an FM DJ, they're very robotic, like, "Who all's on the call today?" And it's like, if you're like, "You roll call," they'll be like, "Dennis, like, quit screwing around." Like you can't be real or in that way. So I hear what you're saying. Now, the most sophisticated piece of equipment you got, it's like, I think a drone with a camera.
We do have that. We break that out every now and then. Yes. We have our pilot. I have my pilot license.
Tripods.
There you go, people. Like you want to get mind share. You want to create videos. It's in your hand. It's just whether or not you want to execute or not. Now, couple Christmas questions, because you had a light decoration contest, drive-through with Santa, and then we're almost at the top of the hour, so we're gonna
go. You got your meeting.
Talk about the holiday stuff, Christmas stuff.
I'll take Santa. You can take the Christmas decoration, or you want to go the other way, Isaac?
You know more about the Christmas decoration. Santa was first. So we did a Santa drive-through, or Santa
came through.
He drove through the neighborhood.
Oh, that was cool. We saw
Santa and Mrs. Claus reached out to us, like Luke said, and they said, "Hey, we're driving around in our convertible. Santa's going to wave to people. If you can help us get the word out, we'd greatly appreciate it." So Luke's really good at this kind of stuff. He took it, threw it onto our website, came up with a map for him, and Santa was an 85-year-old man, so he drove around for hours and hours waving to kids, and it was so cool to see the community's reaction, where you had different houses and different families posting on everything, polling, "Hey, Santa came to see us today at 11," and you see their kids out waving to Santa. It was so cool seeing everybody connect. But Santa gave up after like 5 or 6 hours. So people were like, "He didn't drive by our street. What the heck?" We're like, "Listen, you have to understand. It's cold outside. Santa's driving around in a convertible. He's over 80 years old."
And that's the gotcha moments that you don't prepare for when you start down like wanting to do something good.
Yeah.
I saw them en route in the convertible. I went to go take a picture with my phone and my battery's gone. I'm like, these guys are gonna kill me. And I'm like, but I'm like, man, it's gotta be cold out, like riding in the convertible,
Yeah.
And the fact that they made it 5-6 hours is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And then you guys got the holiday light contest going right now. So That's predominantly in Poland, right? The map I saw.
Most of it is, but we do have probably 5 or 6 in Boardman, Canfield, Columbiana. We kind of spread it out a little bit more, Struthers. But it's predominantly Poland, just because that's, that's the people who know us, but it is slowly spreading out. And if we do it again, we're going to keep pushing it. We kind of dropped that probably a little bit too late, but it's all right. It's working out good.
I got two more questions here. Number one, controversial. I don't want to say that. I don't want to say adversarial, but there are times where I think that I've seen that you guys don't really back down to comments, suggestions, questions. Again, no reason to bring up any other businesses at this point, but there have been times where maybe you've been mentioned and you don't take that. Any business and brand in this day and age doesn't necessarily take the Wendy's Twitter account and like kind of call people out. Like they usually back down and like, oh, I'm so sorry, and and start the butt kissing. You guys have not necessarily taken that approach.
No, that's like Luke says, that's not the way we were raised, and we don't really have money to worry about because we have no money. So the MLO Bros make like nothing, so we have nothing to lose. But I think the best example was the dancing lady in Poland, a lady who dances on the bridge on 224, just listening to music and causing joy. And people are like, she's dancing and she's distracting people and gonna cause an accident. And I'm like, she's on the sidewalk. She can do whatever she wants. And then they call her out. And then after they call her out and the community fights back and says, no, this lady spreads joy. She's a wonderful lady. They delete their post. And Luke and I are like the type of people like, no, you're going to be rude and you're going to be a bully to someone. You're going to deal with the consequences.
You're going to
own
it.
A screenshot of it, threw it back up on Everything Poland and said, go ahead, community, let them learn their lesson. And we got some kickback from that, but I don't care, and Luke doesn't care either. If you're going to be mad at us for standing up for someone who's getting picked on, go ahead, be mad. And that's just our thing.
And as far as the other businesses go, like we've been called out because some people, like I've said it, they've copied us. We're not going to say names, but they asked us to post our podcast on their website. They came to us, they said it, they never spoke. And then as soon as we said, that's a great idea. Well, it's going to be $500 a month for you to do that.
We have to pay them $500.
We have to pay them $500 a month. And that was right when we were starting. And I was like, whoa, what are you talking about? Well, that's how we make money. And I said, they wasted my time. They wasted Isaac's time by meeting with them and then presenting it. And then 3 weeks later, they dropped their own podcast with this girl and everything else.
Similar concept.
Similar concept.
The reason is that, first of all, not a lot of people still have the interest of putting in the work and the time that it takes to build audience. But if you're patient with it and you do that, it will pay you back tenfold than having otherwise to pay the machine for the audience all the time that they build. And you guys understand that. The second is not just the chutzpah, is the understanding of how to do it as well. So you rent the audience instead of owning the audience. And there's a big difference between the two. And they mistook you for somebody that wanted to rent an audience as opposed to somebody that was willing to build an audience.
Yeah, but the problem I had with it was the presentation of the way they sold it to us to get us on the phone was, we want to work with you together as a, like a team to make this happen. So at no point was the original conversation, hey, we're interested in having you advertise on our Facebook, be it a sales job, be it whatever.
Being upfront with it, to have the upfront conversation to say like, this really isn't a partnership. This is us wanting to sell you a space. I get it.
So at that
in the
point,
concept,
I was going to say at this point, if anything, I hope the people who did that have learned a lesson that in the future they won't do that, because I think at this point, I know they still read our stuff and I know we annoy them to death. It's just
and the concept makes sense. The renting the audience concept makes sense. But after we had
to build it.
Yes.
But the other thing too is, after that talk we had with that company, we went and looked at their views, and their audience was equal to ours already. that the views they were getting on their videos. So what is the point in paying that fee
And now
if you're not getting us an audience? So you have to deliver. That's the important.
And now we smoke them by like probably 2,800 views a post. I mean, and these companies are paying these guys, their advertisers, their sponsors are paying them thousands upon thousands of dollars. They get, I don't understand.
And that's why I told him, I'm like, shouldn't you be paying us to be on your website? But
there you go, people. Never afraid to put your foot in it in a good way, and I mean that because I think it's great. I do. I think it's phenomenal.
I know we got to go, Dennis, but I guess the one other thing is too. It's like in our environment now, like it's not even the environment. It's if I always tell Isaac this because he's like, dude, people are going to get so pissed at us. And I'm like, if we can keep 85% of the people loving us and the 15% of us hating us or not liking or not followers or blocking us, we're winning. That's a solid B, or that's a B-. I'll take it. That's always been my thing, man.
4 years ago, and I'm not making this political, but to your point, nobody would play the inauguration except Toby Keith.
Right.
People were out of their minds. Toby Keith just got 50 million new fans.
Mm-hmm.
Now he lost 50 million fans, but he gained 50 million.
Yep.
So if you, there's another side to, I'm not for everybody, 20, 30, 50, 60%, but I am for 30, 40% of the market. Now, last question, Isaac.
Yes.
Holidays, the Christmas is right around the corner.
Yes, sir.
And if I'm a 9 or 11-year-old boy pitching to my dad as to why we need to upgrade our Xbox One to a PS5, what's your best sales pitch? What's your best recommendation to those 9 or 11-year-old
I would like to say, kids, good job in picking PlayStation over the new Xbox. Mm-hmm. It's just, I'm proud of you. I want you to know, as a PlayStation guy, I'm proud of you. You're just going to have an all-around faster system. From where they're at now, there's no loading screens at all. You turn the PlayStation on, you're playing a game within like 7 seconds, which is insane. It's crazy. It's wild. It's good.
That's funny. That sounds exactly like my 11-year-old.
Yeah, there you go. That's it, Pops. I mean, you're gonna have to, if you want new games, it's gonna be on the PlayStation. So you're kind of.
They don't have a lot of games yet, though, right? They only have like 5, 6, 7 games. But like you're playing older games.
Yes. On
the new platform, but you're not necessarily. There's only been a handful of games developed for PS5, which was my objection to his sales pitch.
Yes, and there were actually some games that they made for PlayStation 4 or the new Xbox that are running, that were made for PlayStation 4 that are running like trash on the PlayStation 4 because the developer expected you to play it on the PlayStation 5. And now that developer is getting in all kinds of trouble because of it.
It's good to be an expert at something, isn't it, Isaac?
Yeah, there you go.
Listen, we're gonna do this back up after the first of the year on the DOYO Live Marketing Show. I appreciate you guys dropping on by today. If you have any questions, you guys put them in the chat. We'll make sure that they get your answers. I got to run. And when we do, you pass the test. When we do come back in 2021 for the in-person version, we are going to have you guys in 3D life, real time.
Hey, everybody watching, sign up for 2021 for our thing because we are going to get drunk and we're going to have a party.
We're going to sponsor the bar.
I'm already sponsoring the bar. Sign it up and we're going to get hammered.
I think we got our company behind that too.
They're paying.
We'll talk when you guys finally return the bike. Then we'll have that conversation. I'll see you. Be good. Merry Christmas, everybody.
See you, Dennis. Thanks, man.